I've been building wealth for a few years now. I started at 22, thought I had it figured out by 25, realized I was doing half of it wrong at 27. The actual process of getting financially literate was way less cooler than the finance gurus make it seem. It wasn't one big light bulb moment. It was actually 5 tiny shifts that compounded over time. And before I walk you through what actually moved the needle for me, you need to understand why most guys in their 20s stay broke, even when they're making decent money. We're wired for instant gratification. When I got my first real paycheck, I genuinely believed I deserved to spend it because I worked hard for it. New clothes, eating out, upgrading my lifestyle in general. It felt like I was finally living. But here's what I didn't get. I was playing a game where I could only ever break even. The shift that changed everything for me wasn't learning some secret investing strategy. It was realizing that my future self is a real person who I'm either helping or screwing over right now. Like the 35-year-old version of me is going to exist, whether I want him to or not. The only question is, what kind of financial position am I going to put him in? Once that clicked for me, these 5 habits stopped feeling like sacrifices and started feeling like sending care packages to someone I actually care about. So let's get straight into it. Habit 1 is the long game mindset. The first thing I realized was that I needed to completely flip how I thought about money leaving my account. When I set up my first automated investment, it was a really trivial amount, like really small. I felt this weird sense of loss, like I was giving something up. So I started to reframe it in my mind. Every time money went into my investment account, I'd literally think, okay, cool, I've just sent my future self a gift. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it actually works. I started visualizing the 30-year-old version of me, the 40-year-old version, asking, what does that guy need? He needs freedom. He needs options. He needs to not be stressed about money when his back hurts, or he wants to start something new. The common mistake here is thinking you'll start when you have more money. I see this constantly. Guys are waiting until they hit some arbitrary number to start caring. But here's what actually happens. You just adjust your lifestyle to match whatever you're making and you never stop. What does work though is to make one hard decision today. Just one. For me, it was choosing to invest a very small amount instead of going out one extra time per month. That small shift compounds into a completely different trajectory. Habit number 2 is to start investing stupidly early, even if it's tiny. Once I had that mindset down, I noticed something. The actual amount I was investing mattered way less than the fact that I started at 23 instead of 33. So if you run the numbers on this, if you put £50 a month into a low-cost index fund, so it's basically a fund that tracks the entire market. It's super simple, there's no picking individual stocks. After a year, you'd have maybe £650, not life-changing. But what would that £650 become if it just sat there for 20 years with average market returns? Around £2,800 without having to do anything else. And here's what surprised me. If you waited until 33 to start with that same £650 lump sum, it would only grow to around £1,700 in the same time frame. You literally get an extra £1,100 just by starting earlier with tiny amounts. I think the mistake everyone makes is waiting for enough money. There's no such thing. Start with £20 or $20 a month if that's what you've got. The habit of investing is more valuable than the initial amount. And from there, I learned how to calculate how much I'd eventually need to live off investments. It's called the 4% rule. So basically, if you want $40,000 a year in passive income, you'd need about $1 million invested. It sounds massive, but when you break it down monthly over 30 years, it's doable. That's what actually made it feel real, instead of like fantasy maths. Habit number 3 is to match your money with your actual priorities in life. So this next part surprised me, because I thought I already knew what I valued, but I didn't. I thought of my top 5 priorities: health, learning, financial freedom, experiences with the people I love and care about, and having the space to create things. Then, I pulled up my bank statements from the last few months and I went through every single transaction. The gap was quite embarrassing. I was spending on things that didn't really improve my life because I wasn't really using them. They were basically unnecessary purchases. Think subscriptions and clothes. Hundreds of pounds also on takeaways when I told myself I valued health. Also, I hadn't put anything towards learning a new skill I kept saying I wanted to. So I made a spreadsheet, and it wasn't fancy or anything. It literally just mapped where my money was going versus where I said it should go. And then I redirected my money to the things that actually mattered. And here's the thing, I didn't feel poorer after doing that. I actually felt richer because my money was finally doing what I actually wanted it to do. The common mistake is thinking you need to cut out everything fun. You don't. You just need to cut out the stuff that doesn't actually make you happy and double down on what does. Okay, so habit number 4 is to automate everything so you don't have to think. I realized I was still making too many manual decisions. Every month, I'd have to remember to transfer money to savings, remember to pay my credit card, remember to invest. And sometimes I'd forget, sometimes life will get in the way, or I'd see the money sitting there and convince myself I needed it for something else. So I automated as much as I could. My money now goes where it needs to go on certain days of the month, without me having to even think about it. What's left is what I actually have to spend. I set it up once, and now it just runs. You can also automate the boring recurring stuff if you want to, like basic groceries, toilet roll, you name it. It sounds small, but it actually removes so many micro decisions from life. The reason this works is because it removes willpower from the equation. You're not fighting yourself every month. You make the decision once, and then your system enforces it for you. What won't work is trying to manually track everything and be disciplined every single day. You're going to slip up. Everyone does. And automation fixes that. The final habit is one action point every single time. The last thing I noticed, and this is what actually built my financial literacy, was that I used to consume tons of finance content and do absolutely nothing with it. I'd watch a video about index funds, think that's really smart, and just keep scrolling. Or I'd read an article about retirement accounts and pensions, and then file it away in my mind as something to do later. So I tried to make a rule. Every single time I consume financial content, I have to take one action before the end of the day. It's just one. It doesn't have to be massive. Sometimes it's just opening a new savings account. Sometimes it's researching one specific investing strategy for 10 or 15 minutes. Sometimes it would be just checking my credit score or increasing my pension contributions by 1%. The goal here isn't to overhaul your entire financial life in one day. It's to actively build it brick by brick. And those tiny implementations add up way faster than you'd think. So to round this video off, here's what this looks like in practice for different situations. If you're completely new to this and you feel quite overwhelmed, just start with automation. Set up one automated transfer of £20 or $20 to a savings account. That's it. Do that for a month and then add the next habit. If you're already saving but not investing, try to research and open up a low-cost index fund account this week. It doesn't matter which platform. Just start with whatever amount doesn't stress you out, even if it's £10 or $10 a month. If you're investing but feel like it's random, then do the priorities exercise. Pull your statements, write down your values, and find the gaps, and try to redirect one expense this month. Timeline-wise, the mindset shift happens in weeks. The actual financial results, though, takes years. And there's probably going to be obstacles that you'll hit along the way. You're going to want to stop when something expensive comes up. Don't. Just lower the amount if you need to, but try to keep the habit alive. The consistency matters more than the amount. I'm still improving. Sometimes I slip up on the priorities thing. I'll see something I want and justify it even though it doesn't match my values. The difference now is I catch it faster and I'm able to course correct. So here's the recap in one sentence. Shift your mindset to the long game. Start investing tiny amounts immediately. Match your spending to your actual priorities. Automate the system and take one action point every time you learn something new. Realistically, you're going to start to see mental shifts in a month and probably actual financial progress in 6 months. The thing that makes this fail is trying to do it all perfectly from day one and then giving up when you can't. Just pick one habit from this, implement it this week, and then see what happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.